Clothing alterations looks more professional when an overlocker is used, and this is a video just to give a few little hints and tips on how to use your overlocker. If you're new to overlocking, what I suggest you do is put a different color thread on each of the spools. This way when you actually overlock, you'll see what's going on. So just grab some white fabric and run it through the overlocker, and then what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see exactly what's happening with which thread. On the right side, the red is the upper looper, the green is the right hand needle, and the navy is the left hand needle, which is below the green. And on the wrong side, the lilac is the lower looper. The quickest way to rethread your machine is to clip the thread at the top of the reel and then grab your new thread, and you want to tie it onto the old thread. Now I have a little method that I use, which is that I place the two threads together, I roll them round in a circle with a hole in the middle, and then I pop the threads through. So I'm locking it off really securely. If you don't do that and your knot is not secure, of course when you pull the thread through it'll separate, and if that happens on the lower looper, it takes a little bit of effort just to rethread it. And you'll also notice that I'm checking each knot just as I do it. I sort of give it a little bit of a tug just to make sure that it's nice and secure. These are the two in particular that you really don't want to break. So you can see that I've rolled that around, left a little hole, and then popped it through. Now the tension dials, the little round circles that are numbered from 1 to 9, release those back to 0, turn them back to 0. And then cut the thread at the needles. There should be 2 there running through, because we've still got 2 needles in. So pull that thread through until the knot clears and you've got the new thread, and then you can cut off the old thread. And then grab hold of the 2 threads that come out underneath the foot, which is the 2 right hand threads, and just keep pulling them gently, pull them through until you've got the new thread there, and then you can clip it and get rid of the old thread. When it comes to threading needles on any machine, and I even use this on my sewing machine, I use tweezers. I used to have acrylic nails, and so it was very difficult to actually get the thread into the eye, and as I needed glasses it became harder to see. So now what I do, I just got into the habit of threading it with tweezers, and if you get into the habit you could almost just put the tweezers there and it just goes straight through into the hole. So just thread the 2 needles, and then once you've done that, you just bring the thread towards you, and then you want to actually lay it in between the foot and the knife or the blade, the cutting blade. And then it's just a matter of turning your dials back. Now mine operate on 333. Everyone's machine's going to be different, but generally that's the universal, and then run the thread off. An overlocker that's set up with 4 threads is excellent when you're making a garment using a stretch fabric. For example, people make lycra pants. Rather than sew the seams first, all they'll do is just set up the overlocker as a 4 thread. You can see that there's a stitch running through the overlock in there, so that's actually the stay stitch. So all that's required is to actually overlock the inside of the garment. So when it comes to clothing alterations and you're taking in the side of something, or you're taking up the hem, you really don't need that 4 thread. It's not doing anything, it's not accomplishing anything, and all you're really doing is actually wasting thread. So I'm going to show you what I do. You're going to clip the thread that runs through the needle on the right hand side, and you're going to take that thread off completely. What that's going to do is it's going to bring it back to a 3-thread machine, and then what we're going to do is we're then going to remove the needle on the right hand side, and by doing that we've only got one needle on the left hand side and we've only got 3 threads. This is a close-up of removing the needle on the right hand side. You'll notice that I've just undone the screw on the right, taking the needle out, and then I'll just tighten the screws again, and that's very important, otherwise they can fall out. So now I'm just going to show you what it looks like without that needle in, and you can see that it actually gives a really nice wide overlock. Now what I'm going to do, some people actually do the opposite. They take the needle out on the left hand side and they leave the needle in on the right hand side. I'm just going to move it across to show you what the effect is. I actually don't like this effect because I feel that just from a professional point of view, when you've got a very thin, skinny, what I call skinny overlock, I don't think it looks as professional as wide. Having said that, there are times when a garment, very rarely, does have this kind of overlock on it, and then I would actually do it just so that I can repeat the same. But you can see there's a difference between the two. The top one has actually got the wide overlock and the bottom one has got the small overlock. For more hints and tips, go to my website, jeanniecentre.com. Happy altering!